Just a few quick questions for y'all. Who's here because they're interested in learning how to apply just like tips or mistakes or things that are working for other companies to their own business? Show of hands, okay. All right, and then who has an idea that they're working on but are trying to figure out how to get it started or anything like that, or are you all down the path? Okay, everybody's down the path. And then the final one is who's here mostly to, I guess, sell products or services to other attendees or different people here, basically network. That should be just about everybody, actually. If you're selling products or services, that's probably something on your mind at least. Okay. The reason I asked that is not to be challenging, but I just want to kind of focus in on the things that you guys care about since it's, such a small group today. So anyway, thanks for coming out. Today we're talking about Pug Box. As Joe said, my name's Mike Green. I'm a co-founder of Pug Box. Let's just start with what it is to start with. So that's like the official answer of what Pug Box is, but essentially it's a monthly subscription service for what we deem pug parents. So basically people that are very enthusiastic about their animals, almost treating them like a child. And there's three major breakdowns as far as how we structure that. One's a month-to-month subscription, one's a prepay 3 months, and finally one is a 6-month prepay. And we've also been experimenting with a 12-month prepay, which surprised me because personally I wouldn't sign up for anything for a year because I don't know where I'm going to be or what I care about. But that was by popular demand that we were talking about that. So a little bit of foreshadowing of how things have been going. So just a little quick background. The first question I usually get is why pugs and what and how is that actually a business? So I guess those are 3 questions, but I kind of lumped them all into the same scenario. So first, why pugs? We got started on this because my wife, and my wife is my other co-founder on this one just for fun. We got started on this because she wanted a dog. I noticed all of our neighbors walking their dog when it was about sub-zero, so I wanted the laziest, most cat dog-like dog ever. And so we ended up with a pug. And what ended up happening when it was, springtime, take her out around the block because that's all the farther she can walk, she would attract tons and tons of neighbors that were super emphatic about meeting her and saying, oh, look at the puppy, which took her a while to get used to because she was a rescue. But eventually we were kind of like, hey, okay, so there's a really large following for this particular breed, and even people that were not owners themselves would approach us and be really excited about the fact that we had a pug for some reason. So about this time is when we launched About Pug, which was our kind of, I guess, test bed for a lot of the marketing and social media tactics and tools that we use for the rest of our media brands that we grow out. So basically, we built this Facebook group because that's where our target demographic is, and I'll go in a little bit about that. And it's about 35,000 strong between Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. And we had this group. We were doing things like trying out Infusionsoft and all these other marketing tools because if we screwed up, it was very easy for us to make it right again, be like, oh, our bad. We sent you 20 emails, here's a picture of a dog. And they were okay with it. So we used that as our test bed, and that's all it was for about 3 or 4 years. Eventually we realized, okay, we have an organic audience that gives us about 5,000 to 6,000 organic reach every time we post. We should probably do something to monetize that. And we did a lot of the first steps that people that want low-cost entry points to monetization are, like Teespring, custom t-shirts and all those types of things. And it worked pretty well, but what we really were looking for was a reoccurring revenue source. And Joe stole the microphone, so can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I just happened to realize that. So we thought, okay, perhaps it's time to monetize that, which leads us to Pug Box. So again, monthly subscription box. What you see here is the first kind of makeup of who our customers are. So unsurprisingly, they're ages 26 to 65. Our pricing model is towards the upper end of subscription boxes, so we're not attracting a lot of the younger crowds. by and large, our gender makeup of the group is 78, nearly 79% women. And that's not necessarily indicative of who's enjoying it, because we have a lot of pictures and videos of the whole family kind of coming together, kids, mom, dad, so forth. But that's who's making the purchase decision. And Facebook, if you believe the metrics, tells us it's about 68% of our customers are about 100,000 plus household income. So that gives you a good idea of who's purchasing our product. And that also reflects roughly the makeup of our Pug group. So the pricing structure is just $29 plus $5 shipping for the regular. That includes 4 to 5 items, 5 to 7 for a premium Pug Box, which is essentially a luxury item or two, depending on the price point. And again, those are the month-to-month options, 3-month prepay or 6-month prepay currently. The cool thing about this venture is we actually turned a profit the first month that we went live on that. And I recognize that a lot of that's pre-sales to our Facebook group, but our Facebook ads that we also ran in conjunction and parallel to that were quite successful as well. So even if we don't have a group to support it, we have found that the pre-sales are successful. And when I'm talking about pre-sale, I just literally mean, hey, this product's being available in the next month. We usually do 1 to 2 months out. Sign up here, and that lets us know if we should go forward with this product or not, right? Because everybody can tell you it's a great idea, but it doesn't mean too much unless they pull out their wallets, at least for us, right? So now let's talk a little bit about our current state. So it's really small, sorry about that, but you can see some of the happy customers around there. This is interesting because these are organic shares back to our page. That's one of our marketing methods, to say, hey, you know, we'll share your image with, or your pug's picture with the community. If you post it back to us, we'll do that on Twitter or whatever. People get super into it, and it's really nice because it's, you know, kind of that mini influencer marketing almost, right? Because these are people that are emphatic about their dogs, and their dogs make good spokes animals for the brand, right? So these are our numbers, all, you can't see, but 5 likes, 3 comments, 2 likes, 6 shares. These are all before we shared them to the page. If you're wondering why they're so low, once we share them to the main page, we get around, again, 5,000 to 7,000 organic impressions and anywhere from 100 to 300 likes and probably about 20 shares. So that's been a huge marketing tool for us in our current state. Right now, the subscriber base looks like 30% gift subscriptions, which is exactly what it sounds like. 70% of the people order it for themselves, 30% of the people order it for other people. That number is a little bit fuzzy because sometimes people get confused and order a gift subscription for their dog because their dog is people to them, right? So yes, of course it's a gift subscription for my dog. Why would I want a chew toy? So right now, the other interesting piece is that we're at 22% 6-month pre-sales, and that, or prepay, and that's been pretty much steady throughout the process, which was surprising to me, especially as a new company. That was shocking that somebody would be like, yeah, I believe in this enough to actually trust you to deliver for 6 months. I know I wouldn't do that myself, so that was an interesting little bit of psychology for this particular market segment. Frankly, it's just our shipping and processing costs. So it's about $2, $3 per box. So over 6 months, it's 20 bucks maybe. And that's, you know, it's kind of a win-win because we don't have to pay the processing fee because credit card processings are flat plus percentage. So we basically took what that flat fee was and discounted that straight across the board, and it's worked out really well. We've only had one person out of a couple hundred even comment that it was a little low savings for prepay. It's like, this is what we can do right now, small business, sorry. Right now we're at 2,500 shipments to date. We have a churn rate of about 7%, which means month to month how many customers we lose. Industry standard is around 14%, so we found a loyal following, at least for our little base that we have. The really neat thing and also the interesting thing for me to keep tabs on is that our customer acquisition cost as measured through Facebook advertising is less than half of what the average lifetime value of the customer is. So basically for every 50 cents that we're spending on, or every dollar, no, 50 cents that we're spending on Facebook, we're getting $1 back in return, which, you know, is needless to say very exciting, but I know that will plateau at some point, kind of dreading the day where it starts to flatten, because that means we'll have to pivot, adjust, and so forth. So let's see what else. Right now, the fulfillment, thankfully, we're not doing ourselves anymore. We work with a sheltered workshop in town. If you're not familiar with that term, it's basically a group of individuals that have developmental disabilities or something like that that want to work. And this is a nonprofit organization that works with them to accommodate their needs. They really like the products because it's something more interesting than their standard, you know, kind of mundane packing bags. They're fun toys, they're fluffy items, they don't have to worry about breaking them. So it's been a really great partnership between the two orgs there. All right, competitive advantages. You'd be correct in saying that, okay, isn't it kind of a low bar of entry into this industry? And this isn't just for pet subscription boxes, it's also for beauty boxes, any of the major boxes, unless you're developing proprietary property like lessons plans, that kind of thing. It's kind of a low barrier of entry, and admittedly so. We do have some competitive advantages, the first of which, and you know, not the least of which, is understanding the target market very well, because my wife Marie, she's very much the pug parent type. She's maybe not as extreme as many of our customers, but you know, the pug is nicer than me and probably cuter, so that's probably why, if nothing else. So, what's that? Is that yours right there? No, that's Hannibal. Hannibal likes his hamburger very much. Owners, there's a lot of owners groups and meetups in the area. There's about 40 or 50 dogs that attend to these every month. So if we want to run a product by somebody or some animal, or get some feedback on marketing or approach, something like that, it's a strong base that we can turn to for getting out of our own little minds, basically, which a lot of markets don't have that available. We have that organic reach, which we've talked about a little bit, which means simply that we can acquire quite a few customers for basically no cost other than the time that we've invested into the group. We, this is where I brag a little bit about my wife. Me, I'm very mundane. I have 10 years in IT beforehand, so I know the technology stack very well. I've done web development, I've done database development, and we're very data driven on that front, so that's fortunate. But where Marie really shines is she's probably the smartest person I know, and I don't say that lightly because I know Joe, right? Brilliant guy over here. But she's a PhD graduate from WashU in her neuroscience, and she has an appointment in neurology and physical therapy there as a faculty member for 9 more days, then she's coming to work with me again. I stole her back. But anyways, she has a really strong data background, which helps us do a lot of modeling and predict where we need to be instead of trying to play the catch-up game. And you know, that's not too much of a competitive advantage in verticals like tech or biotech or you know, any of those. But within the pet industry, there's a very, very few people that are to that level of sophistication with their analytics and their trend trackings. So we've been able to stay at least 6 to 7 months ahead of any of the suppliers, let alone our competitors that don't have a toe in the door or the data sets to work with. So we're going to try to hold on to that one as long as we can. And then finally, this one was a little bit of a surprise to me. It's building great relationship with our vendors and distributors. To me, I always approached it as a business deal. I give you money, you give me product. I might ask you to cut us a deal because we're growing and we'll order more from you down the road. But what we found is a lot of the subscription boxes, I don't want to name specific ones, but the big ones in the industry treat it something like a music deal. Hey kid, we'll give you some exposure if you give us this product for free. By the way, you have to sign this non-compete where you can't sell to any other subscription boxes or any other services like that for 2 years. needless to say, that's not a good way to make friends within the industry. After the excitement wore off, they found out, hey, nobody actually, that made no difference in sales in a tangible way. There may be some organic lift, but that's not really trackable. So basically they ended up leaving these folks holding the bag, having given away free products, having to eliminate some of the business that they could get from people like me. And really that left a sour taste. So for us, people are excited to work with us, and that word of mouth gets around very quickly. And it seems like a big industry when you walk into one of their trade show, but still it's one of those industries where everybody kind of knows everybody. And we've gotten some great deals because of that too. So that was a pleasant surprise. Just, hey, treat people like you would want to be treated, right? Thanks, Mom, for that golden rule. And then kind of next steps, we'll wrap up quickly here. We found this model works really well. And we find that we have a scalable opportunity in targeting small breeds that people are excited about, that have high disposable income, and look at that intersection and confluence of points. And we've identified 5 breeds that we're going to target within the next 6 months, doing a product launch for all of them, because we found that although we can get quite a bit of organic reach by having this group, it's not necessary to launch a business if you have the capital to roll into the ad spend. So what we're doing after a small pilot is we're doing a full rollout for each of the breeds. But the nice thing is they have very complementary needs. So one of the unique things about our subscription box is we don't just throw in small toys or whatever. Pugs have a flat face. They can't use deep bowls, for example. They can't get to their food. So just this kind of simple thing can make the customers feel cared for and understood, which ultimately is all they want when you're basically selling this experience for them and you want to not disappoint their kids, right? So we've identified 5 breeds that we're going to move into in the very near future. The first of which is going to be French Bulldogs. That has a very similar profile to the Pugs, and actually a larger ownership base. So let's see here. And then the other label products, so essentially manufacturing and creating our own product lines. That's one way that we can increase our margins, and one way that we can build a larger brand identity for all of these. We already have some partners that are doing test runs for us as we speak internationally, and we'd also like to bring some of that home just because it's a lot easier to walk down the street than take a flight, right? So that's kind of the next steps for us here. And then finally, contact information. Feel free to reach out to me on any of this, or if you had any follow-up questions that don't get answered here and now. Melissa or Joe always ask, what can the community do for you? Well, lots of things, because we're still very much learning what we know and what we don't know. So there's probably some things that you've thought of that I haven't even considered that you can probably help me with. But right now we're running into a really odd problem where we can't actually take more customers because we're outstripping manufacturer and distributor supply. It's more normal in the pet industry to do gradual buys of things, and we need like 600 or 1,000 of a single product. They just don't have that in stock. So we're mitigating that by running 2 to 3 months out ahead of time, but still that's even not enough lead time for a lot of these groups. So if you know responsive, good, and just interesting companies, let us know. Our target price for purchasing is between 50 cents and $4. Obviously on the lower end is small sample size treats, and the higher end is luxury toys and stuff, and those usually retail between $5 and $16 is kind of our sweet spot, because that way we're still giving a value to our customers. And on that last note, the manufacturing relationships, we are very interested in moving forward with manufacturing our last things. We always love finding new excited customers, so if you know any of those pug parents or soon to be Frenchie parents, let me know or send them our information. And then just general good press is always fun. This is a light-hearted story that people have been, getting on board with. They always forget me, which is fine because I'm not the interesting one. They're like, neuroscientist starts pet box. It makes a great headline. And then, on that last point of trying to sell people stuff, this is what I'm interested in buying. If you have a way to beat that customer acquisition rate of 50 cents per dollar, let me know, because I will buy that all day until I run out of cash in our store. So I think we'll leave that up. And then, Joe, you want to kick off any questions?
I will start. Can you hear me? I'll just be loud.
Yeah, just be loud, Joe.
I'll just be louder. I'm loud. I'll start with the questions because I have large dogs. Are you ever going to expand into the large dog area?
We will, once we have sufficient shipment volume to negotiate better rates with the Postal Service. Right now we have about a 15 to 20% discount rate off the going rate of post. That would kill our margins at the moment because we estimate that the increase would be in weight would basically double our shipping cost. So yes.
So large dogs just have larger toys?
Exactly.
Okay.
Sorry, that was the inference there. Yes, because of their larger toys, larger treat bags, everything like that. And we wouldn't be doing anybody a service if we're like, hey, here, have this toy that your dog destroys in 2 seconds, right?
Right, yeah. I have a German Shepherd, and literally 30 seconds she destroys anything. It's unreal.
Awesome.
So,
Soon.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
So, I saw how you fulfilled your orders.
Yeah.
You talked about that. What's your inventory look like? Do you guys pull that out, or is that just in time? How do you handle that?
We have some float that we use for welcome boxes. So essentially, we have X number of new incoming customers, right? So we have a preset box that we rotate every 3 months or so that we hold inventory for. Everything else we try our best to do just in time. We're not Amazon or Walmart yet, but we're doing a decent, we haven't missed a shipment yet, and we haven't been holding on too much inventory. And then finally, for anything that we don't want to hold on to, we do sell the individual, we order a small surplus of every item so that we can sell it at a later date near full MSRP to our customers. So we give them kind of a shop option. And those sales, I should have included in there, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. That makes up about 5 to 10% of our total revenue. But we also do a very poor job of promoting that. So opportunity, promoting the fact that we even do that. So
Very good. By the way, I just want to say that's an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And it's also a very interesting, unique idea.
Thank you.
Great value proposition.
Well, here.
I would agree. I'm a big large
Yeah.
dog person, and eventually I think you need to go into it. I don't know. I know pugs are popular.
Yeah.
I've always thought like retrievers and
Yeah.
these other larger breeds are even more popular.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Get a bigger box, find the right shipment, because that's something we definitely do want to do. If nothing else, our neighbors had an awesome golden retriever in there. Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. And if anybody's a shipping guru, that's something else that. All right. Awesome.
2 questions.
Sure.
First, you really should introduce your spokesmodel.
Yes, I suppose so.
What's your name?
All right, so I apologize. You've uncovered my weakness here. This presentation was done last night, so this is the first time I've actually presented it because, yes, I love that feedback. So in the upper, I used to have a blue border, but you can't see it. In the purple hat is Nikki. That's our pug. Her eyes are not usually that terrifying, but I caught her after a late night of partying, I guess. Her eyes are a little bit red and bloodshot, but this is Nikki. We didn't choose the name. She was a rescue. We didn't think she was smart enough to learn a new one. She has proven to be smarter than I am sometimes, so I will happily admit that I was false. So this is Nikki. And I don't remember the other people's names, or the other pugs' names, but and then second question?
So I know you're saying you can't meet orders right now, but
Yeah.
I just Googled list of celebrities with pugs.
Yeah.
You should just send them out, comp them, and immediately you'll end up like on Ellen. Jessica Alba, Robin Williams, Gerard Butler, Billy Joel, Hugh
Yes.
You should just shotgun it out there and say, hey, this is us. Yada, yada, yada.
I like that. I like that. Once we get our supply chain like smoothed out,
Ready to roll,
that once we want to move a lot of product, that's a great example or a great idea. Yeah, we actually declined a offer from, apparently there's a very large pug celebrity, Doug the Pug.
Yes.
He has 4 million followers, something like that, and a devout following. And he used to post on our page when he was new. So like we're OG compared to Doug. No, I'm just kidding. But they marketed it much better than we did. So as you can tell from the numbers, right? But yeah, so Doug the Pug, we have a good relationship with. We'll probably kick a few over to him when we're ready to really test our limits of fulfillment. But right now, frankly, it's a lot of times we're calling vendors from China or distributor warehouses that are like, hey, where are these 2,000, fluffy, wubby, whatever, and I have the most ridiculous business conversation I've ever had in my professional career, and I can't believe that I just said, fluffy, wubby, bear, in orange, and they're like, yes, and they take it very seriously, but anyway. But no, that's an excellent suggestion because we had thought about the celebrity pugs, but not the celebrity holding those, which is even a bigger reach. Thank you.
All right, customer acquisition.
Yeah.
So you have a 30,000 following on Facebook. Right?
Well, we have 21,000 on Facebook, 3,000 on Twitter, and 10 to 15,000 on Pinterest. I don't count all of those because they're kind of the follow spam, but.
So your advertisements been running have been through Facebook primarily, Facebook ads.
Yep.
Has there been any other channels you've tested so far?
Instagram, let's see, so our cost per click on Facebook is about anywhere from 5 to 30 cents, which is outstanding for us. Being a smaller business, we don't have the deep pockets to be like, yeah, we'll pay $3 a click. Instagram has been running basically 15 to, I want to say 55 cents. It's slightly more expensive. We find that we get a lot of interest on Instagram, but more conversions on Facebook because, Facebook, I'm generalizing, but caters to an older market than Instagram.
That was kind of my big question there is like, on Facebook, it feels like you have so much credibility with the group and the 21,000 people that converting those interested buyers is easier because of that, the validation.
Exactly.
That's why I was wondering if you tested what the other channels did.
Yeah, we haven't tested Pinterest yet just because we've done some ad management and digital sales organization work for other companies. And just traditionally, even if the creatives are spot on, the ad creatives, sorry, they just don't perform as well. And that seems to mirror what I've had, or what I've heard from other people in the same space, the marketing and digital agency world, is they just get the best conversions for this market segment because the median age, I think, of our customer is about 42, which, it sounds like lines up very well with that Facebook demographic, not so well with Instagram, Snapchat, all those.
So just a quick follow-up on that.
Yeah.
When you move into other breeds, you're in a community building mode.
Yeah.
It seems like. When you're picking the other breeds that you're going to move into and other segments, essentially, how do you do that? How do you compete against other groups that exist, or do you try to create one? Are you going to try to create those groups, the communities, in areas where they don't exist yet? Is that
right.
the friendly pool?
Sure. So one of the interesting / nice things about our ad campaigns is generally what I would consider, I don't know if there's a formal way of talking about this yet, but what I observe is almost a micro community begins within the comments of that ad. It starts by us usually seeding the conversation with a few cute pictures of Nikki. Hey, Nikki says hello, whatever. And other people following on and following suit, sharing their pug on the comments section. So what that ends up doing is almost creating this micro community. And that does two things. One, it lowers our cost per click because it's like density of cute pugs. And second, it also allows runoff. So although we're not soliciting likes from our campaigns, we purely run on cost per click. We do experience about a 10% runoff where people will see our ad and then like our main page as well. So not only are we doing cost per click and sales, we're also building the community. And to answer your question, basically what we'll do is create a container community for it. Maybe it'll be about French Bulldog or whatever. Better naming schemes, we've gotten smarter and brighter in that, but basically use that, build that micro community within the ad and let the runoffs populate that. And also, frankly, it's pretty cheap to build a Facebook community in this space. Our other verticals are science and technology that we're in. It's much more expensive, as you might expect, but for $2,000 to $3,000, we can build a community of about 15,000 pretty quickly within a month or so is what our projections are. So that's kind of the strategy. Please.
But because you guys have such a strong data model, right?
Yeah.
And like you're very targeted, have you ever thought about selling that data back to other pet companies for them to have that information on those specific breeds?
No, but now I'm very interested in doing that. No, that's a really brilliant suggestion, and I hadn't thought about that. Mostly because I continually underestimate how much money is rolling around the pet industry. I learned a little bit about that when I last minute decided to go to the Pet Expo in Orlando. And I've been to tech conferences, I've been to all scientific conferences. The only one that parallels it in size that I've been to is the National Science Foundation's annual conference, which has about 20,000 people. I think that pet conference had about 19,000. So that was eye-opening. So to your point, excellent suggestion. I'll give you a royalty, small royalty if that pans out. Give me a year. We need to figure out that. But is that something you have experience in doing? Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll talk later.
It's just really cool because like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't Petco be very interested
Yeah.
in how responsive pugs are to certain toys and different things like that?
Absolutely.
If you have that kind of data, they
Yeah.
may be interested in buying it and then using that to figure out their marketing.
Well, that's a fantastic suggestion and may explain why their marketing team was so friendly to me. I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
How are you going to balance, let's say you do get this kind of, uptick, all of a
Uh-huh.
sudden start getting exponential growth, how are you going to balance, I'm sure you have, being a smart guy, thought about how we're actually going to deliver on the product. How do you balance kind of not overbuying in the present, but anticipating, kind of hitting that uptick?
So no small part of that is kind of our predictive modeling, which may completely fall apart once we start hitting larger audiences. I do not know what variable to put in for an Ellen, presentation, for example. Probably triple, right? Quadruple, I don't know. Septuple, I don't know. But mitigating that risk is, one way we mitigate that risk is from the, analytics. But the other part is that's also, if we work in complementary areas, we can always recycle older boxes that we've already presented to one group to A, B, or C, because those are going to most likely be different verticals. One point that we need to be cognizant of, and I haven't figured out how we're going to solve yet, is accounting for customer acquisitions that are familiar with one product line, so let's say Pug, and then they also have a French Bulldog or whatever, because a lot of times they do have multiple of different breeds. And I haven't got a great answer for that, especially since our base is very interesting in that they sign up under a lot of different names and a lot of different emails. So there's not a great single identifier that we've found. Email's probably the strongest, so we'll probably have to look from vertical to vertical with that. But long story short is if we could model a reliable buying model for people, we could sell that for probably millions to, Petco or whatever, because that's the number one, waste within the retail vertical, at least as far as I know, is overbuys. And that can end a buyer's career in many cases, depending on how bad it was. I have a good example is back when Limited was cool, and during the 90s, no offense if you're Limited, are they even in business anymore? Anyway, I knew a buyer that worked there that was escorted out the same day that he bought 20 million pairs of acid wash jeans. And this was 1998 when it was wide leg dark jean. So, if you can figure out a way to, the less egregious mistakes, then, that's a different business model. That's even good. So I don't know yet. So if anybody has a good answer for that, I'm also interested in that. Thanks, Joe.
Anybody else? All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.